Remnant 2 got its first piece of DLC called The Awakened King, and I 100%ed the entire thing. I got all the endings, achievements, and major equipment, so let's discuss if this expansion is worth the price. This review will contain spoilers. The Awakened King has you taken on a new version of Loathsome, with this featuring the true king. Alive and well, the king is on a rampage and you have to stop him. The narrative is a simple stop the bad guy version of Loathsome. The narrative isn't anything major, and much of the story is just stopping the evil king, with a very lukewarm conclusion regardless of which choice you make. The two major decisions are provided to you by the king himself at the end of the mainline quest, and has very little weight behind it. This is because you see this leader has clearly gone insane, killing his own people in mass, and he expects you to help him by killing the Lady of the Lake. Someone who has been an ally to you shows humility and is clearly rational. It's just a basic good versus bad option at its core with no significance behind it because he betrays you regardless, so what's even the point? I don't mind pure evil actions as it gives the player a choice to act in their best interest or to roleplay as basically the bad guy rather than just choosing an altruist decision by default. If you want this decision to work, you have to have some sort of incentive behind it for the evil choice to matter, such as better equipment, an alternate boss fight, or something meaningful beyond just the exact same thing which the Awakened King does. The final ending is purely RNG since you need to get the Red Prince's dungeon and collect the Crimson Coins for him to kill you. He then takes the throne and gives you armor, which is pretty cool, but this is the guy who killed you. Why wouldn't he try to kill you again since you complicate the narrative that he killed the king? On one hand, you could just assume that he knows you're going to be gone from this realm, so there's no need to cause any unnecessary havoc, but at the same time, you still are an issue to his narrative, and overall, it's just a mess, and it doesn't further the main story at all, so overall, it just seems like a cut portion of the Lonesome campaign that should have been included as a variant option. It doesn't help that the mainline Lonesome campaigns all feature the one true king in some fashion, not to mention complementing the Red Prince's entire narrative, so I mean it's a conspiracy theory, but at the same time it just lines up so well. The DLC doesn't add much of anything new in terms of gameplay. You get a new class called the Ritualist that focuses on debuffs, but you'll need to grind a lot in order to get it to max level as with the other classes. They should have added an option for you to boost the leveling if you completed the game, or swap levels between classes for a scrap fee, such as when you want to downgrade weapons, you get back all the items you put into the weapon so you can upgrade a different weapon. They should implement that with the class system as well, because having to upgrade a brand new class is just going to add to the grind, and it's just very obtuse. The overworld provides a new part of Loathsome for you to explore with a new witch and infected enemy added to the pool, but much of the game is the same dungeons. There are a few new dungeons, but they just seem the same since the DLC uses much of the same assets from the core game. It also doesn't help that many of the new bosses are just more powerful variants of existing enemies. You can explore all the new areas by selecting the one-shot option, but this is only available for the first time you play and locks you out after the first playthrough, and you only can get one of the DLC's endings by playing the actual reused content from the core game, specifically the Red Prince. There is a bunch of new equipment, but if you already completed the game, especially on its hardest difficulty, you'll likely have stuff that far surpasses the items granted here. The only items that I found viable was this anchor melee weapon, but this was a traditional weapon that you found in the overworld. It wasn't even a boss fight weapon, and the Red Prince's armor, which looks amazing, but I think it's mostly for looks. It's not really that practical, but either way I used it because it looked sick. Even the final fight against the king isn't great. It features two phases with ads separating the two parts. I was able to beat the boss a couple of times without even triggering the second phase. I was expecting a little more substance to this boss fight because he's touted to be this incredible destroyer, this massive cosmic force that fell from the heavens, and it turns out he's easier than the core Lonesome boss fights that you fought in the main game. Like, I was really disappointed about this figure. He is very easy and not really that threatening, so I'm a bit confused of why everyone was so scared of this guy. One major issue that I did have is the loading times, which are exceptionally long. Not sure why this is a thing, seeing that the core game's load times were fine, and much of this DLC uses existing content and assets, but something is clearly wrong here. Regardless, it's more Remnant 2, and if you like the core game and you're hungry for new content, you'll get more of the same here, but if you already completed the main game to its 100% completion with everything already obtained, there's very little substance here to justify the $10 price tag, and I can't really see anyone other than the most hardcore Remnant fans enjoying this DLC, or the people who purchased the Ultimate Edition like I did. The Awakened King DLC is more Remnant 2 and is for those starving for more content from this game. It feels like something that should have been in the core game but was slashed and repackaged. It focuses on the game's strengths, which is good, and adds very little substance that justifies the $10 accent price or tries to differentiate itself from the core game, especially since much of the DLC feels much of the same as the core Lonesome Realm. Even the final part of the castle is just a repeat of the council chamber from the main game. The Awakened King just feels like a part of Lonesome that we missed out on and is now being resold to us. Just to put this into context, the first time I played this, I beat it in about an hour and a half, and then I was able to speed run through the mainline content in about 15 to 17 minutes. In fact, it took me only about 3 hours to 100% everything and get all the achievements. But again, if you're really hungry for Remnant 2 content, I guess you'll find some substance with this DLC, but if this is what we can expect from future Remnant 2 DLC, it's not looking good.